Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be unboxing, swatching and reviewing the Urban Decay Naked Honey Palette. So to all those with a makeup addiction, welcome back. So the Naked Honey Palette I feel went under the radar a little bit. Everyone reviewed it once and now I just don't seem to see it in videos anymore. But here it is anyway in all of its glory. Really nice looking palette, to be honest. Box is exactly the same as every other Naked box, really. The back of the box gives us the names of the shades, at the same time showing them to you a little bit. And also on the back we have in English and in French just some blurb about the palette, about the blatant obvious that it's about rich warm tones and a mix of mattes and metallic shades. The ingredients can be found on the long thin side of the box, and again they're in French and English too. They are incredibly small. It is really hard to read, in all fairness, but it also gives you like the address of the company and all the rest of it. If you're interested, the main ingredient in here is talc, but I don't think that will be a surprise to anyone really. So let's crack her open. Oh, and I tell you what is nice, on the inside of the box they've put this like honeycomb pattern. How nice is that? What a really nice bit of attention to detail for the Naked Honey palette. It's lovely. Of course, I knew what to expect when you get this palette. I've seen pictures of it everywhere. So I knew it would be a really nice gold looking, dripping with honey looking case, which is lovely. And it's the same shape and size as the other Naked palettes, so there's nothing really new there. But let's have a look inside. Do you know what? When I asked for this palette and I got it for Christmas, I didn't actually think it would be all that wearable, but it is so warm that I could actually get more use out of this than I thought. I thought it would be really yellow, but these shades are gorgeous. So the shades are Flyby, which looks like a not quite matte, Sweet, matte, Swarm looks matte, Amber is a metallic, Keeper is matte, Golden, Honey and Queen are all metallics, Hive and Drip both matte, HBIC, which looks amazing to me, is metallic, and then Sting, the deepest colour in the palette, is matte. I do get frustrated with these paler shades in these Naked palettes because I wish so desperately that they were matte, but they're always just not matte. But I suppose that's just my problem. So let's crack on with our swatches. I've got a little colour swatcher here, which allows me to just wipe off the product from the brush each time. Saves me washing them every single time or going through an absolute ton of brushes. It works pretty well, so we'll be using that. You'll be getting a finger swatch. Then we'll get like a packing on eyeshadow swatch, which is using a MAC 239. And after that, I will do, for each shade, I'll do a blending swatch, which is a MAC 221. All over my arm will be the NYX HD Studio Photographic Eyeshadow Primer. So let's crack on. First up we have Flyby, which is a nearly white ivory colour. Like I said before, I'm just a bit gutted that it's just not a flat matte. I really like to put down a really pale base colour first, a pale base shade to blend everything else into, but this is just got a bit of shimmer in it. I'm pretty sure it'd be quite good as a highlighter if you gave it a shout, but it swatches really well with the finger. Pretty decent with the brush. Next up is Sweet, and you know, this could go either way, to be fair. It could either be just on the cool side if you're doing a cool shade, a cool look, but I don't think that's where you'd be going with this palette. But it is quite a nice matte. The formula's pretty decent, to be honest, and again, it swatches really well. This is definitely the kind of shade that I would put in my crease, and because I'm incredibly pale, so you might be looking at this thinking, that's actually not paying off that well, but it's pretty representative of what's in the pan, and I can imagine me running out of this shade really quickly in this palette. It's probably worth mentioning at this point that actually on the screen I would say that there's a bit of a green, if not yellow, tint across the whole palette as to its real colours. Those first three shades look pretty spot on, they are pretty warm, but then when I look at the ridiculously gold one in the middle, that one just looks a bit green in comparison to what it actually is. I think it's my light, but just so you know, the next shade that we're swatching is Swarm. Next up is Amber, and it's about time we get to a real metallic in this palette. It's a little bit darker than it looks on the screen, but oh, it swatches nicely. It's not, I wouldn't say it's phenomenal. I don't, you swatch it and think, okay, it's a nice ambery, rosy, goldy sort of colour, and it is really nice. So let's see what it's like with a brush. That's actually a little bit disappointing, isn't it, really? Let's just try it with a bit of spray and see if we get a better result. Not really. I mean, where it has laid down, it is far more impactful. It definitely turns the colour on, but I would say you either need to cover a small space with your brush or use your finger. It's just going to be how you get a good result from this. But actually, look at that. A blending brush, and you actually get a really nice payoff. That's quite incredible, actually. Look at that. Yeah, let's appreciate for a moment how good that is. Next up is Keeper, another matte shade. You expect these to be good now. You get halfway through the palette, you understand what the formula is. It does look, even to me, it looked lighter on my finger than it did in the pan. It's pretty warm colour. Again, probably if you're a little bit darker than me, this would be probably what you used in the crease of your eye. Probably a little bit too dark for me to do that, but really nice colour nonetheless. Nice and warm. It will be the next one I used after Sweet if I wanted to go that sort of way and make it a little bit darker. Pays off really well with a blending brush too, so all round, can't really argue. We're back, I've reapplied my primer, and the next one that we're off in with is Golden, and now I feel like Golden and Honey are really what this palette is all about, and everything else just supports those two shades, and this is really golden. What a lovely shade. If you were doing any sort of look and wanted gold glitter, this would probably do you really nicely. Although I must admit, it's not really glitter, it's more of a metallic. But we do have the same problem with the packing on. It's like, I feel like you've got to use a spray or nothing. And even when you get a spray, it's not a huge difference in what you get in payoff. It's really not. If you need it to pack on and you're doing a really small space on your eye, that's fine. But I'm really actually quite impressed by what you get out of a blending brush with these shades. I mean, that's pretty special. Onto Honey, which is the one that looks a bit green, I would say, but is actually very, very yellow. Oh, and do you know what? It's actually a lot sheerer than I thought it would be. In the pan, you expect it to be this big wow of a yellow gold shade, and actually, it's pretty see-through. It's not a very opaque shade. I mean, it'd be great as like a topper, I suppose. If you put the colours down first, it would top it off quite nicely. But yeah, little bit disappointed, if I'm honest, in that colour. Considering it is the flagship colour, it is called the Naked Honey palette, and the honey shade being the one that I'm a bit disappointed in. That's annoying. Moving on to Queen, which is really nice. I love this sort of deep bronze sort of colour. You know, it's similar to quite a lot of other shades in quite a lot of other palettes if you wanted a bronzy sort of gold, but that is really nice. And the payoff of that in comparison to Honey, there's just no competition. That's a lovely shade. And much better payoff with a brush than the other colours actually. That's like a proper payoff with a brush. That's lovely, really nice formula. Yep, quite comfortably my favourite shade in the palette so far, both for payoff and just the fact that I absolutely love that sort of colour. Next up is Hive. Lovely warm brown shade. If you were here for the warm browns, this is the matte you're after. But for those with deeper skin tones, I can imagine this would still be quite pale. Next up is Drip, and to be honest, there's not a huge amount of difference between Hive and Drip. I mean, yeah, one is slightly darker than the other, but that's not to say that you couldn't just mix Hive and Sting and get a darker brown. So yeah, not hugely different, but still a nice colour. And now for what I hope is my favourite shade in the palette, because as soon as I opened it, my eyes went straight here. This is HBIC, or so Google tells me, head bitch in charge. What possesses them to come up with these names? It's a little bit chunkier, it needs smoothing out a bit, but oh, it's such a lovely colour. And it's really hard to describe, because it's not really a rose gold, it's a coppery, bronzy, rosy gold. Yeah, really weird, but either way, absolutely love it. I actually probably think it's the most unique shade in the palette, in all fairness. Pays off really well with a brush. So far, so good. And it probably blends quite well as well, just like all the rest have. Yeah, I mean, look at that. What a great formula. Why amber and golden and honey couldn't have been formulated in this way? That's amazing. Look at that. Gorgeous. And the very last one in the palette is Sting. This is a matte, and ooh, a little bit chalky. And actually, when you first put it down, it doesn't want to blend the bit that is now just clinging, which you can see at the top of the swatch. That's quite annoying. But I hope that with a brush it performs a little bit better. Yeah, that's better. Oh, that is so much better. I mean, this just goes to show that if you're going to completely rely on finger swatches, you could totally be led astray. Because that's really nice. Pays off really well with the brush. And really quite blendable as well, in all fairness. Especially considering with a finger swatch, it really got stuck on my arm at the top of the swatch, and now it's just blending all over the place. No complaints from me. Really nice shade. So what do I think? I mean, it's a really nice addition to the story that Urban Decay have got going with these naked palettes. We've had the Naked Heat, we've had the Naked Cherry, but the last one to come out was the Reloaded one, I believe. And it's really weird how they included a brush with this one, yet the last palette that we got from them didn't have this brush, so that's a bit weird. They've kind of reverted back. I mean, the last thing that they released to us, if my memory serves me correctly, was the Naked Reloaded palette, where they gave us a much softer covered palette. Didn't come with a brush. Had the same amount of shades in it, but then at either end they gave us 4 shades that had a little bit more product in them instead of them all being the same size. I also like that you could bend back the lid on that, and on this you can't. Speaking of brushes, it's a double-ended brush, but one of the sides is very similar in size to a MAC 239, and the other side is, the quite unique actually, Urban Decay synthetic brush for blending. But I'm never going to use this brush. I'll probably give it to one of my friends, but it's there if you want it, which is quite nice. The palette itself and what it's made of is quite different from the other ones. If you've got the Charlotte Tilbury, her first long palette that she came out with, I haven't, but I remember going to nearly buy it, and the packaging was really plasticky, and that's my only disappointment with this palette, is that actually the casing, instead of being metallic like you would have got in the Naked 2 palette, is actually quite plasticky, which is quite frustrating. But other than that, no complaints really. Nice addition. I'm not going to use it every day, but it is a good palette, and it's one that I would recommend, particularly if you like your Urban Decay Naked palettes. And that's it from me today, really. I'd really love it if you'd follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It'd be great to say hi. Other than that, thank you so much for watching today. If you've enjoyed this, please go ahead and subscribe. And other than that, have a great day. Thank you so much for watching.